should say that Wally and I, and this doesn't mean to exclude you, Dory. I always call her Dory when we're together, but tonight it seems to be so special that Wally and I have enjoyed such a wonderful brotherly relationship over the years that it's hard to express, and we still get together very frequently to talk about all of you. Probably we're going to write a book sometime here. In all sincerity, it's been just a wonderful relationship, and to be here tonight with all of the family and friends is so special. And I just think that this 50 years of you two being together has got to be the greatest thing that God ever created. You two are so special. And as I said before, whoever they touch in their daily travels benefits from knowing Wally and Dory. And I thank you so much. The piccolo.
He is famous for his jokes in the piccolo.
I think the lights are dimming and they want us to, yeah. But, what am I supposed to do, Deb? You want me to dance? I do have a little routine of it.
Mom and Dad, you guys, yes, please, everybody raise your glass. I am so very proud to be a part of this family. And my folks, God, you guys look great. And I can only hope that I have the same thing that you do 25 years from now. Love you so much. God bless you. Happy anniversary. And here's to your 75th.
Are you sure?
Ron, do you have anything to say?
I think that's enough.
Well, we want to thank all of you for joining us in this wonderful party that the kids have put on. It's overwhelming. I feel like Ben Crenshaw on the last hole of the Masters. Overwhelmed here with everything that's going on. But we've had the real pleasure of going through 50 years together and meeting people like you, knowing people like you, our friends, everybody that's here today, and many more that couldn't be here. And I thought maybe I'd just fill you in a little bit about how Dory and I got together. It's kind of interesting, especially after that kiss I got. There were things that I might have said at the party that about Dory and I that possibly would be something that you kids wouldn't know and would like to know about us and what happened and how it happened. So I kept these notes. And we did blind, and we done on camera. I'm really nervous.
That's the way everybody was.
Yeah, well, I'll settle. I'll just have a drink of wine and I'll settle. So as I was mentioning, we were always late. Red and I would be double dating. Dory and Lillian, and we were always seemingly late. At least they told us that we were late. And this one time we were driving in to pick them up, and the battery fell out of this 1937 Chevy. And Red and I didn't know what to do, so we got out of the car. We got a couple of sticks and put it in where the battery carrier was. Put the battery back in. The car kept going, so we arrived late as usual. And when we got the girls in the car to go dancing, I had Dory next to me, and she was sitting there, and this battery, the way we put it in, made a big lump on the floorboard.
And when she sat next to me, her knees came up to her chin practically. And then from then on, the girls believed us when we told them why we were late.
Because the battery's down.
Well, that one, they had to believe. They wouldn't believe it at first, and finally when they got in the car, they did believe it. Half of you can go to Los Angeles, and the other half has to stay here. We got a 48-hour pass. And for some reason, I traded red because I wanted to do something, and I went first. And when I came back, they told me that I was assigned to the LST 205. And he never got to go to sea, and I did. And later I was wondering, gee, who was the lucky guy in this thing? Because it really turned out to be something.
Why didn't they take him?
Because he was gone. When if he hadn't traded with me, why he'd have gone instead of me.
Yeah.
So we got aboard this
You were together?
LST-05. No, we never, on ship we were never together. He never went overseas. But we got on this LST and they left half of the crew on and they put off greenhorns on there. And Bob Beerwood was one of the old crew. And we left and we went to San Francisco. And the darn LST is, anybody knows how it is, it's all flat on the bottom so that when you hit the shore, the doors open and the guys can run out on the invasion from the tanks and the half-tracks all go out of the tank deck and that's how we were invading the Pacific Isles. And so as we went along we got to Pearl Harbor and loaded up and then we were off to Saipan and that was our first invasion and Robbie was with us. And that's where I met Byron Walker. He was part of the crew and he was at the party. Whitey was at the party.
Really?
Yeah, he was there and that was part of the crew. And most of us went along and our lives kind of paralleled together because our marriages kind of worked out. That we were married about the same time. Next Sunday we go to Whitey's 50th. And in July we come out here, we go to Byron's 50th.
Yeah.
Where's Whitey's?
Whitey is, he lives down below us. He's in San Diego County.
How fun.
One of the funny things that happened was that when we were out to sea, there was, the most important thing would be getting mail. And we didn't get mail very often. And I was always able to tell when the mailboat was coming.
Oh, yeah.
And I could tell the guys, hey, the mailboat's coming, you guys, because Mom put these beautiful perfumes
all over the
on her
envelopes.
envelopes.
Oh my God.
And
Who
then-
told you to do
I
that?
I did that for Mikey also.
You did, I guess,
Yeah, whether I
I
read it
thought
somewhere,
I-
I just
yeah, I
heard
thought I was
and
the
did it.
only guy, but I think everybody's gals were putting perfume.
What kind
on
of perfume was it, Wally?
Well, I'm not sure now, but I know one thing, it wasn't White Shoulders. Yeah, right?
I don't think it was
honey?
White Shoulders.
I
then.
said it wasn't White Shoulders,
No.
because you hated White Shoulders.
Well, it wasn't good for
And if
me.
it was someone else. No.
So from there, after Saipan, we went to Leyte, which is in the Philippines, and General MacArthur landed, and you may remember, or you may not, that he said, I will return. And he hit the beach right between our ship, and we saw him come.
Was this a visual?
Yeah, he came ashore, and he was evacuated from Corregidor in the Philippines, and he said he would return, and he did. And we were under his command on the LST. He was running the whole show. He wasn't the most popular guy in the world, but he did know how to handle a war. And while we're in the Philippines, and in Leyte, why we started to get into some battles that it seemed like they thought we were a destroyer in disguise, because we were 110 foot long, and a very slow ship, and as it ended up on the con, which is where the wheelhouse was and stuff, we had about a dozen Japanese flags painted up there, which meant that with our small anti-aircraft stuff, we actually were credited with knocking down that many Japanese airplanes, the Bettys, the Zeros, and so forth. And we were going along up and down in this thing until finally in this Zulu Sea, which was occupied by the Japanese, they'd send these airplanes over and they kept after us and after us until finally we got hit by a kamikaze. And that said to the captain or the admiral, whoever it was that was in charge, that they should send us home because we were damaged enough, we lost some lives and so forth. And so we went back home to be repaired. And we went to Seattle.
How long was that after the initial beginning of the war?
That was in 1945 that we came back home,
And when did you go there?
in 1943.
Okay.
So I was out to sea after I kept saying I want to get back out to sea for about 18 months or close to 2 years before I got back. And so when I
You come back once, you were there the whole time?
were out, yeah, whenever we come back, we'd come back to Pearl Harbor.
Oh.
And then we'd get rejuvenated and go back to sea and we'd be in another invasion.
Oh.
So we couldn't go anymore, so they sent us back to Seattle and that's where they fixed us up. And when I got home, they split up the crew and they said, part of you can go to and have a month's leave and then the other crew half the crew stayed aboard and then when we got back, they got to go. And I headed right for Los Angeles. And I went right over to see your mom, see Dory. And believe it or not, when I found her, I said, hey, let's get married. Let's get married right away. And she said, well, I don't know, I'm wearing braces on my teeth, but that's fine, that's okay. And so we decided that we were going to get married within about 3 days from the time I got home, get a blood test, you know. So I went back to Placentia, went to see my mom after we had talked the first time when we were going to get married, and I got to thinking, wow, all this stuff we were going through, and how many close calls we had, that maybe it would be better if we waited till I came home for sure. So I called her up and I said, honey, I told her my thoughts. And she accepted it. And I figured, well, you know, I could tell there was disappointment there, but I thought I was being wise. And then I went to sleep. And then I couldn't sleep. I was rolling around all night and I woke up and I said, I am going to change that and I'm going in and we're going to get married now just like I planned. And I will just have as good a marriage and as long as it lasts, we'd be thankful for it. So I went back, I called her and we were going to date and I got back to Inglewood and she was getting dressed. And when she was getting dressed, I was waiting in the front room and I asked Bill Doran, her dad, I said, I'd like to talk to you a minute. I want to talk to you about your daughter. So he said, good, come on in the den. So I went in the den. I said, you know, I want to marry Doreen and I want to marry her. We want to get married as soon as we can.
And you were how old?
21. No, 22.
You were 22.
I just turned
And I was
22 and she was still
20
20.
still.
Wow.
And he said, you know, Grandpa said, oh, wonderful. What?
Is
Hey,
that what
Wally,
he said? I
welcome.
didn't know that.
Boy, I'm going to get Elsie and man, that's wonderful. Welcome to the family.
Rid of her.
And
No.
she,
What?
and Dory didn't even know about it. She was still getting dressed.
She's the last to
I
know.
still thought
Oh,
that
she
we were
came
not
out.
going to get married
Yeah.
until we
Dress
got
for your
back.
date.
Yeah. So she came
Right.
out.
Your betrothal.
She came out from in her bedroom and I said, honey, we're getting married. I'm going to get married the day after tomorrow.
Ah,
And so that was the way that it happened.
boy.
And we got married and it was a wonderful wedding. And you might have noticed on that plaque that we have, there weren't too many pictures. And it was because
I'm going to
Mom,
hang on the wall.
yeah, Mom had the braces on, and she didn't expect me home, and she was going to have straight teeth. She had beautiful teeth in the first place, but she thought she should have them straightened. And so that's why we didn't have a lot of pictures, but then we went on our honeymoon, and man, you never saw a guy with more bloody lips. But yeah, her braces
I kissed
were
my
good.
boyfriends and they used to get ripped
Yeah.
up.
So
We thought we were in a fever.
Yeah.
Oh,
We had a couple of great weeks in Los Angeles. We had a stay in Placentia, and you remember Grandma's house. It
Remember
was a
the
big
Grandma's house?
two-story house on 10 acres.
Farm, orange fields.
Oh, yeah.
You mean your mom's
My
house?
mom gave us the house,
Amazing home.
and it was a a real experience to be there.
I had to
With
boil
her.
the water to get it hot.
Yeah, and we go to
That's
bed,
fun.
and the wind would blow, and the thing would squeak and howl. It's just like living in a haunted house, but we really had a great time. And so finally, the 2 weeks were up. We were in different places in Los Angeles and with friends and stuff, and then we headed for Seattle. And we got on the train, and I don't know how long it took us. We sat up all the time, and they almost seemed like gaslights on that train. It was so old. And we finally got to Seattle, and when we got there, our friends like Whitey and Jans and a whole bunch of other married couples all took these little cottages together along the way, and there were a bunch, you know, maybe 10 couples that had just been married.
A lot of couples.
And Bill Doran, of course, says, hey,
My dad.
you can't go out and pay anything. I'm going to have you stay with Doreen's uncle.
Oh.
He's a great guy and you'll love it. So we said, okay. And when we got over there, it was a little tiny house, and
They
our
were very
bedroom,
nice.
even though the kitchen was between it,
But no
was
privacy.
so close. And they had the
Well, nice stuff.
squeakiest goddamn bed that we had.
And I was so embarrassed.
You, anyway,
Everybody next door
we
to you,
made
right?
the thing squeak a lot, but it was
Yeah.
fun. But
Well, I should hope you would. Good.
we spent a lot of time together with the married couples, and as it turned out, Byron and Jesse got married in July, and we stood up for them,
Yeah.
and they didn't know what they were doing. You know,
Her
Mom
mom did
talked
something.
to Jesse like her mom because she didn't
He
know
asked me
anything.
to, and I didn't know much to tell her
Yeah.
how to protect yourself, you know.
So we went back to Pearl Harbor. We had to leave and say goodbye, and everything was teary. And we went to Pearl Harbor, and we loaded up, and then they told us we were going to invade Japan.
Ew.
And so we got everything. We had the Marines on at that time.
You weren't with him though.
No.
Oh, no, I stayed at
No,
home.
this
He
was
was
all
back overseas.
And we had everything ready to go, and we took off, and we got within 4 days of Tokyo and Yokohama, which was where we were going to invade, and we knew that this was going to be probably, most of us wouldn't come home because of what we'd been through before, and then hitting the homeland would really be something that most of us figured that we'd be lucky to get out of. And about that time, they dropped the atomic bomb.
Ugh. And you were there?
They dropped it in Nagasaki,
Before
and
you
we
got
were
there,
just
you would've been
3
there.
days or 4 days outside of Yokohama and Tokyo. And when that happened, it ended the war. And I say, and many of our buddies, Byron and Jesse, got married in July, and we stood up for them.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what they were doing. You know,
Her
Mom
did
talked
something.
to Jesse like her mom because she didn't
He
know
asked me
anything.
to, and I didn't know much to tell her
Yeah.
how to protect yourself, you know.
So we went back to Pearl Harbor. We had to leave and say goodbye, and everything was teary. And we went to Pearl Harbor, and we loaded up, and then they told us we were going to invade Japan.
Ew.
And so we got everything. We had the Marines on at that time.
You weren't with him though.
No.
Oh, no, I stayed at
No,
home.
this
He
was
was
all
back overseas.
And we had everything ready to go, and we took off, and we got within 4 days of Tokyo and Yokohama, which was where we were going to invade, and we knew that this was going to be probably, most of us wouldn't come home because of what we'd been through before, and then hitting the homeland would really be something that most of us figured that we'd be lucky to get out of. And about that time, they dropped the atomic bomb.
Ugh. And you were there?
They dropped it in Nagasaki,
Before you
and
got
we were
there,
just
you would've been
3
there.
days or 4 days outside of Yokohama and Tokyo. And when that happened, it ended the war. And I say, and many of our buddies on the ship say, that we're here today because of that. And not only did that save a lot of us guys, but it saved a lot of Japanese people too. And I think it was, I believe, I know there's a lot of anti-stuff about that right now, but it is something that I feel it saved many, many, many lives. It was the right thing to do. And then the war was over. I was married, had enough points
Yeah,
to
he's
get
right.
home because
Bride's
you got
waiting.
points to go home because of
Yeah.
how long you'd been in the service, how long you'd been
Yeah.
overseas, if you were married and so forth. So I
You
said,
got points.
hey, great, goodbye all you guys, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
And they said, you go over on that LST, and I left my buddies and we took off for Pearl Harbor. That was the first place to go. And when we got to Pearl Harbor, they said, you have to stay here for a few days because you're gonna tow another LST home.
Oh, no.
Well, jeez, we could only go 10 knots
Slow moving.
on our own, and let alone put another LST back there that we're supposed to tow back home. And so as it turned out, instead of me being the first guy home,
You were the last.
I was the last.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happened was that Bob
Dear
Beerwood,
Rick, yes.
he was after Saipan, they took him off the ship and he went home and we stayed on the ship.
And he
went
wasn't
on.
married.
And he wasn't married, but he got he had like a meningitis or something from being exposed to the cold and stuff, and he came down to Los Angeles for medical purposes, and I think he was at Wadsworth. I wasn't home, and he went over to Mom, she knew where she lived, and he took her a dozen roses and
He had them
said,
sent to me first.
and he said,
First ones I heard.
these are from
Yeah.
Wally.
Mm.
I didn't know
If you
anything.
said Wally,
And he said that was
God,
from
he's home. But it
Yeah.
wasn't.
No, and as it turned out, I've never forgotten it, neither has she,
And you
because
guys are the best.
this
friends.
guy,
Yeah,
this
still are.
guy,
And he's
still-
as
He
rough
was there.
outside
He was
as he
there,
is and
What's his name
everything,
again?
there is
Bob
just
Beerwood.
just
And
a
Betty
Betty
heart.
with the gray hair.
Yeah.
Very white hair.
Yeah.
Sweetest.
Both of them have
Sweetest.
beautiful
Oh,
white hair.
he's a great guy.
Oh,
And where do they
yeah.
live?
They live up in San Francisco.
Oh, okay, they're the ones that came down.
Yeah.
Mhm. But I'll never forget what he did, and neither.
Either will Dory.
No,
Yeah,
never,
It was
never.
just wonderful. So we went through our prudential lives and we went through all these things with you guys. And like I say, Nancy has been like one of the family forever because she was 15 years old, I think. when we first
I would say
started.
forever.
Or
Uh,
younger, maybe.
No,
We
she's
hit the
90.
beaches together and we did all those wonderful things together.
And look into the camera and say, I'm your best friend. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
And we lived in Mar Vista, which that was a wonderful place to live. I don't think, and I think Mike agrees, that there are neighborhoods like that. The kids, the families, every one of us were so close and everybody did things together.
Very, very
We all
true.
grew up together.
Those were the good old days in the 50s.
And in the 60s and the 70s.
And the
It's
70s.
not like that
We
now
had
for
our
us.
children there, and we had our grandchildren with us there, and it was a special place. But it was so special because when Grandpa died, then Elsie blossomed, and she was
bless
such a beautiful lady.
Bless
I
her.
just loved her.
Bless
as
her.
everybody
Amadora.
Because he was overpowered. He
did. And
was,
the thing
really,
was,
yeah, he's,
the
and she,
the thing was with Elsie,
the way it was.
Amazing.
that she blossomed to the point where, gosh, she became
An artist.
most
Art,
warm,
yes.
loving girl that you'd ever want to know. And she blossomed. Started painting,
Uh-huh.
and she had her friends. And I was at that time ready to go somewhere else. I figured I was going to retire and we were going to take off. And because of Elsie, we did. Mom just said, Dory says, you know.
Leave her
I
friends
said,
and
well,
her
we'll take
painting.
Elsie with us.
Mhm.
But that would
Be
be fair to her because if we did, we'd be taking her from a lot of her friends. So we stayed in Mar Vista for 32 years, and then that seemingly tragic thing happened to her in that accident. And actually, looking back, I think all of us
Bless him.
will say it was a blessing because she never went in a retirement home. She never
Never
went in a
depended on
nursing home.
anybody.
She was taking care of
Went down
grandchildren
driving
right
the
up
car.
to the end.
What she wanted to
And
do.
she was just so
That's
wonderful,
one
and
thing I
now
don't
we
wanna
look
do.
back and say, hey, it was, you know, for
Yeah, she
her,
was
she
really
lived, we
great.
had a letter from the President of the United States,
Did you?
which says, congratulations on your 80th birthday, and she didn't
Which she
get it,
almost made.
but she was
We got
right
a
there to make
surprise
it,
party planned for
and
her.
she had a
Really?
I would send it
wonderful
to
life,
Come on.
and it was just great. And so then we kind of put things together and moved to the Hill. And we not only kept all of the friends that we had, you know, in Los Angeles and the family, but we also met so many
And what year was that?
wonderful people down on the hill in Laguna.
That's all?
Laguna Miguel. And as it turned out, why, we really found paradise.
We did.
You did.
We
Oh, we did.
really found paradise. We love it so much and all the people that we're with and know,
Good friends.
it's just added to our life so much, and it's just been a wonderful life, and we've had such a great time with our grandchildren. And we want, like I will say right now, to you guys, that we just think that the way you've let us be a part of your life has been so
Wonderful
wonderful.
children. Here's to your
You
children.
bet, our wonderful
And your,
children.
your children's wonderful
And to
spouses.
you-
No. Yes.
To you guys,
You
we
bet.
love you so much, you
We
know.
do.
I just can't express it more than just to say, we love you, and we have had such a wonderful life, and we're expecting to go on and have many, many more years of this.
Right.
100 more
We
years.
are living the good life.
Yeah, you
What's
are.
a good
We-
life,
Definitely.
whatever, how long
And
it
that
lasts.
party was just outstanding. It was a wonderful, wonderful party, and we thank you for it, and we know that
Yes.
it's something you captured for us tonight on tape
Oh,
that we
That
didn't
tape is
see.
wonderful.
Yeah, wasn't that fun to look at that? Isn't it videos and good? Here's to your
You
children.
bet, our
Yeah.
wonderful
And your,
Yes.
your
Right.
children's wonderful
And to
spouses.
you-
No. Yes.
To you guys,
You
we
bet.
love you so much, you
We
know.
do.
I just can't express it more than just to say, we love you, and we have had such a wonderful life, and we're expecting to go on and have many, many more years of this.
Right.
100 more
We
years.
are living the good life.
Yeah, you
What's
are.
a good
We-
life,
Definitely.
whatever, how long
And
it
that
lasts.
party was just outstanding. It was a wonderful, wonderful party, and we thank you for it, and we know that
Yes.
it's something you captured for us tonight on tape
Oh,
that we
That
didn't
tape is
see.
wonderful.
Yeah, wasn't that fun to look at that? Isn't it
was so
videos
fun.
and wonderful?
Oh, it is.
And we want, you know, Mike and Nancy and Ron and Deb, great kids, and the 5 grandchildren.
You did good, Wally and Dory.
We did good.
You done good.
I think so.
And that's about all I was gonna say if I had time.
And here's
I'm
to your
sure-
mom and dad and your mom and dad.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Because that's who made
That's a
everything,
good
you know,
input.
possible.
Right.
Right?
Yes, you bet.
Right.
Okay, now what
Bless
we're
them
gonna
all.
do,
So,
and
That-
here's to the china.
Right. And here's to the plastic
That
cup.
is lovely. It couldn't have been better.
And to Kimal.
And honey, have some.
I will. I have.
Please do. And you can always use a
You
microphone.
know what?
It's not hot enough.
This is the most filling food I've ever had.
For
I
Chinese?
never eat Chinese food. I mean, ever. My family's never had it
I
as a
never got
family.
any rice.
Aren't we
Oh,
We're
weird?
not gonna
need
eat rice.
You didn't have any
I don't
rice?
need it.
Thanks, Mike.
Fried rice.
Thank you very much.
I think we got it.
Throw out some